Hey there guys, Matthew here, joined by Liv for yet another Doctor Who Series 12 review. Today we are here to review episode 8 of 10. We are almost at the end. The Haunting of Villa Diodati, or Diodati, or whatever the hell it's called. Now, of course, this is the penultimate episode before the two-part finale, so we were all expecting something big to happen this week. After a couple of sort of, flat weeks of just sort of getting by and, waiting for something to really hit us. And it's safe to say something really hit us.
It didn't
this
half.
week. Although it was kind of hinted at quite heavily on Twitter.
Thanks, Doctor Who America.
Yes, BBC
Much
America
appreciated.
sort of told us what was coming. But it was still interesting nevertheless. Now, we've not put anything on Twitter since this episode. And, of course, we've had 2 episodes we've not been too fond of. So this is the bridge between them and the finale. What did you think of episode 8, the Haunting of Villa Diodati?
I liked it a lot.
Oh, can you repeat that?
I liked it a lot.
Oh, one more time.
I liked it a lot.
Liv liked it a lot.
There was moments where Jodie was doing my absolute tits in, which we'll talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But apart from that, I thought it was creepy. And finally, a good villain.
Well, we'll get on to that. I very much enjoyed this week. I thought it was... It's just one of them... it has all them little things that you just love about Who. It's creepy, it makes you jump, it, gives you the chills. And they're my favourite episodes where they sort of touch upon ghosts and, I like a good horror film, so, them sort of themes and that sort of genre, I really like it. And when Who sort of tackles that, I thought that, I think it's awesome when it does that. That with the setting and the characters and the story and then how it unravelled was fantastic. A lot of times, and last week's episode was an example of that, in my opinion, when it looks good and then it goes in a different direction, like with last week. Yeah. And you could argue with Praxis as well. But this week, it just kept going and it kept building. It kept getting better and better and better until the end. And I thought it was a very, very good episode of Doctor Who. Very, very good. I enjoyed it. I wasn't on my phone. I just was fully invested in it, and I really, really enjoyed it.
There's all these different parts of the stories, with the house changing a lot. The skeletons, the creepy hands at the beginning, the ghost stories. So everything in this episode was just building. They
got the perfect balance between all aspects. I mean, the setting of the house was very creepy. I thought the music this week by Sega Nakanola fit the episode perfectly.
There was times in the beginning with Jodie that yes, I wanted to throw something at the TV because she was annoying me that much. But luckily, towards the end, she
came through.
She came through.
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to discussing the 13th Doctor in this one. Because there were scenes where I was a bit like, oh, for God's sake. But then there were other scenes where I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, obviously the episode starts with them arriving. And a common occurrence this series is that we have a very big cast. Lots of people involved. And we meet all these different characters. Starts off quite normal and then things start to happen. And I really, really liked how things started to unravel in this episode. How we got little jump scary moments with shadows appearing,
Ghosts.
Things being thrown, the lightning, the wind, and then the house started to turn into like a puzzle box. I thought the way that it started to build at the very beginning was so very creepy.
Yeah.
And it's sort of typical Doctor Who has you behind the sofa, sort of. I mean, I'm not saying I was crying and scared and traumatised, but it just... had that edge to it and that creepy factor, which I really, really liked. And I think the way it was shot, I think all of it put together with the music and the setting, it all worked perfectly. Now, I know you're not one for horror films and stuff like that, but what did you think of how it started and how creepy it was?
I mostly was it was clinging on to you for the most of it because well, there was times that I was like, wow, this is creepy, but in a good way. The first episode of the season that's kind of just got better and better and better as the scenes went on.
Yeah, it did. It built perfectly, and it had me very, very creeped out, and it built up very, very nicely to obviously the reveal of what the house was and what it was all about.
Mostly for a decent villain at long last, and it also on top of that, so an old school type of Who story.
It was very old school, and I'm glad, because at first when it started to unravel that, you know, the house was a trap because something was trying to get through, some sort of time travel, I thought this is very much like Hyde. But then, and we'll jump straight into the reveal of the lone Cyberman, which we knew was coming. Let's not pretend we were absolutely shocked. I mean, BBC America kind of spoiled it on Twitter.
That moment should have been kept a secret.
Yeah. I wish it had been, because
I think it should have been kept a secret.
Think of the shock.
The shock factor.
When that Cyberman appeared.
Even though, so we were shocked and loved it.
Oh, yeah.
At the same time, that moment, kind of like Jack's moment, could have been like, oh my god, it's a Cyberman,
yeah.
It's a Cyberman.
I still very much thought it was a fantastic moment, though.
Yeah, I did.
When it come through, and the way it was shot once again, I don't know who the director was of this episode, but whoever it was did a fantastic job. When it appeared in the hallway and turned and just faced them down. Oh. I mean, it looked absolutely awesome. And what did we think of this new take on the Cybermen? Because I was partly sort of, at the start of the series, I was wondering, well, why are they bringing them back so soon? You know, and I was wondering what they were going to do differently with the Cybermen. But this lone Cyberman...
This seems to be like the Cyberman, like, right at the beginning.
It has a 10th planet Mondasian feel to it. I mean, it doesn't look the same.
As I'm starting out, is the image I'm getting of, like, and that's in the episode, like tiny bit like a human face.
Oh, I love that.
And like the rest all through, I was like, oh, that look is perfect.
It was absolutely fantastic. The human hand, and the half the human face.
I love that.
I mean, just the way it was walking as well. You know, we've seen the sort of and the Doctor even said we've seen much more cyborg Cybermen. But the way that this Cyberman was moving, the way it was reacting to stuff, it still felt very, very human.
And what I like, that Cybermen sort of seemed to be getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So as the episode went on,
it did. And again, I mentioned the setting, but I think it suited it being on its own. They didn't throw loads of Cybermen in there. It was one Cyberman in a very closed space, in a very haunted, scary, dark space. I thought it was a perfect mix.
Yeah.
And I thought it was absolutely fantastic, especially when we're going close to the end, when Mary Shelley sort of confronts this Cyberman, and you think it's about to show some compassion.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I was like, please don't. You built this Cyberman up so well. Please don't it suddenly turn around and be like too human and too compassionate. And when it twists her arm and basically starts saying of what it's going to do and what it wants to do, and it throws her away, I just thought that was just perfect Cyberman.
It was.
Absolutely awesome. I loved it.
Oh.
I think seeing its face, seeing that little bit of emotion, but like the hateful emotion coming from it, it just made me love it even more.
Definitely. With
the look, how it was like sort of creeping about as well. It wasn't like full on stomping robotic. That's the perfect sort of Cyberman for me.
I just think that the direction they're going with the Cybermen. So is that like they're just starting out vibes. Like
Starting again.
Like he's the first one, like the lone one, and then all of a sudden, so he's flew off, all created to create more type of thing.
I did like the scenario because obviously the cyber, whatever it was called, the cyber genetic, whatever it was called, I forgot the name of it, was obviously trapped within that guy, and the Cyberman was trying to come back for it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to jump too far to the end, but I loved the dilemma that the Doctor was in at the end. You know, faced with, I can kill him, and it prevents the Cyberman from getting what it wants.
Yeah.
But obviously, if she gives the Cyberman what it wants, then it gives it all power. It goes against what Jack said. We won't touch upon that too much, because I think that's we'll talk about that. But the Cyberman itself, I thought was perfect.
I did.
In this. So, briefly, let's touch upon the side cast, because they were a big part of the start of the episode as well. What did you think of them? Because,
very good.
Like I said, we've had a lot of side cast this series. Episodes seem to have a lot of people in them this series. Some have been hits, some have been misses. I thought they were very much hits this week.
Very good. They all had their own place in the episode.
I like them all.
Yeah.
You had the cocky, arrogant guy who was like trying to hit on the Doctor, and she was like, no. Mary Shelley was a very good character as well. I thought the side cast was all pretty good in this.
Yeah, they were.
I like them.
The companions?
Ryan.
The lad cannot act. That scene at the beginning, I was cringing so bad.
What, when he was wanting to be in the house at the very beginning?
Yeah, right at the very beginning.
Yeah.
With his accent. His... Like series 11, I liked Ryan, but this series, I just haven't. His acting has been so wooden. The lines have been so wooden. Oh, Doctor. Oh, this. Oh, that. I'm like, come on! Do something else!
Yeah.
Wake up!
I'm the same as you. I mean, I've gradually sort of lost love with Ryan this series. And I think a big part of why I liked him so much in Series 11 is because it was very driven around his character with him losing Grace.
Yeah.
And even this week, he had that little scene at the piano when he was talking about what Grace would do. And I liked that scene. You know, it's a little bit of his character. You know, a bit of emotion from him.
But the only problem with me, so is when he speaks, there's no emotion there at all. So it literally is like a wooden plank.
Do you know what he's reminding me of?
Speaking.
He reminds me of Danny Pink.
I knew you were going to say Danny Pink.
Not the character, but how he was acted by Samuel Anderson.
Yeah.
I'm sat there and I'm just like, I want more from you.
Do more.
Like, even when he's scared and stuff, I just feel like there's just not enough there. I'm like, I just want more from Ryan.
Oh, that scene at the piano was a good scene, but the problem was, so it's how he was, like, acting through it. Like, that moment in his voice, so should have had emotion and stuff like that, but it wasn't. So all it was like was just a wooden plank.
Yeah, I mean, he was okay this week, as in what he was doing and stuff like that, and you know he was involved and stuff. But yeah, I see what you mean. I think in this sort of a scenario with you know big things going on, it was a bit scary, a bit creepy. I did want a bit more from Ryan, but I've wanted that for most of the series.
It was, for me, was just that scene at the beginning when he was trying to do that voice. I was like, oh my god, this is so bad. This is so bad.
Yeah, bless him. What about the other two? Graham?
Very good.
I like Graham. I always like Graham. You can't not like Graham.
No, you can't. But Yaz this week, I really enjoyed her.
I did as well.
I don't know why, but I really enjoyed her.
I'm just starting to really levitate towards her character all of a sudden. I don't know what it is.
That scene when she was sat down with that girl, do you know what her name was?
I
can't remember her name, but there was that scene when that girl was talking about the arrogant guy hitting on the Doctor, but but Yaz was talking about someone as well, and I wonder who.
True, yeah, I picked up on that.
Who.
I wasn't sure what that was, unless we missed something with that. But yeah, there was something about Yaz. She just in scenes, I'm noticing her more. She seems to be just a little bit more authoritative. I don't know if it's a perception sort of thing. With just how her character has begun to develop, that we just seem to see her more. But I am really starting to enjoy her character a lot more.
I am.
She's sort of swapped places with Ryan for me.
Definitely,
in this series.
Definitely.
Graham again, he's there and he's for comic relief, and there were a few cool, funny scenes. But I feel like with Graham, he's such a likeable guy. I can sort of just pass up on him being there for comic relief. Because sometimes in episodes like this, you do need comic relief.
You do, yeah.
Sometimes it's out of place, and sometimes you feel like it's too much. But this week, I thought, with such a scary sort of episode, them little moments are sort of, you sort of need them. So, I liked him and how he was reacting to the ghosts and everything. It's just Graham.
It's just Graham.
Just Graham.
Jodie?
Yes.
This is really going to get interesting. Can I start? At the beginning, she's driving me freaking mad. These stupid, funny lines she's doing. Like, there was the scene with that daft helmet on. Like, she's acting like a bloody buffoon. She really is. And when that joke that the Cyberman made, like...
You're irritating me now.
You're irritating me. So I jumped up and said, every week she's irritating me. So there's nothing new, but there's scenes like that where I'm just thinking, oh. And then again this week, there was some lines where she's just repeating herself over and over and over again. And there's sometimes that I'm sitting there and thinking, oh, please regenerate it to somebody else. I'm just sick of you. Sick of you. Do you get where I'm coming from with my full-blown rant about Jodie's doctor? You can just tell that she isn't for me at all. Just the slightest thing.
I'm getting this slight inkling that you're not the biggest fan.
No, she's driving me mad.
Well, first point, the Sonic again. Put it away, please put it away. Just every single flipping thing needs scanning.
That Sonic screwdriver.
It feels like she hasn't got a mind without that Sonic. It literally gives her all
everything.
the information she needs.
Like other doctors before her think on the feet, explored more. But with Jodie, so all it seems to do, so she talks 1,000,000 miles an hour, repeats herself, does these funny, stupid, irritating bastard lines, and then what a surprise, the bloody Sonic comes out.
I agree with you in regards to the funny lines. There were a lot of times when I think she was trying, and this is what I mean about what I was saying about the comic relief with Graham. It's about the balance, and at times in scenes she was trying to be it's like, I don't know, it's like some of the lines the writers were hoping we'd laugh at them. Like they were hoping that, the Doctor's funny, quirky little lines would land and we'd go, ha ha! But I wasn't, I was sort of cringing and going, and it felt sort of, in them scenes where she was talking really quickly and trying to say funny, quirky lines, it felt very 10th Doctor-ish. But, there is a big but. She also had moments this week where I was very impressed. And I was very, very took back, and I was like, wow, that's what I want to see. Right
at the end, that speech to the companions.
Oof,
now that delivered. But this is where it's irritating for me. Why can't she be like this all the time?
Well, she's not going to be like that all the time, because then she'd just be 100% dark.
But you're missing the point. Last series was bad, but this series again, it's just like in certain things, the woman tells you half the story and half the plot with her talking and her talking and her talking. Do you get where I'm coming from?
It's simply the balance, because we're never going to have, her Doctor's character is a Doctor's character. She is this type of bouncy, quirky, talks a lot sort of doctor. We're going to have to accept that. They've got to just get the balance right between her being funny, her being quirky, but also having scenes where she shows authority. She's driving the episode. She has to sometimes be a little bit harsh, a little bit doctorish. So for me, I don't mind the quirky lines when it's backed up by her being the Doctor. So it's the balance. You know, we're never going to get her when she's not going to be quirky at all, and we're never going to get her where she's fully 100% dark. You know, the first Doctor was never fully 100% grumpy. He always had these funny, cool, charming little funny lines. Same with 12, well, at times too much. And as much as obviously there were times in this episode in the first half where I felt like they were trying to make her funny and make her quirky, and it didn't land for me. Later on in the episode, I thought she was tremendous. Like, when she faced the Cyberman, I thought she was very good in that. Obviously, I remember when we had to judge her when she first met the Dalek. I thought when she faced the Cybermen, she was quite good.
There was parts... So when she first met the Cyberman, I was like, oh, here we go again. But all of a sudden, she seemed to come in with it a bit more. But my only problem is that in these scenes, she's not commanding enough.
There are times when I feel like she's not commanding enough.
And you're in that scene when the Cyberman said, you always like irritating. Because if I wasn't that, the Cyberman agrees with me. She's bloody irritating.
It's just a Doctor. I mean, I will always... I don't like how they're using her Doctor to basically explain the plot and in scenes talk too much and, tell us too much. The exposition is a problem which has been sort of on and off this series. But I have to say at the end, and, we've mentioned how... But we've got to praise it at the end when she was faced with that decision. And I love it when the Doctor's faced with these decisions. When she was put in a position where it was this man's life or the Cybermen gets what he wants, and the companions were sort of brushing it off like it was an easy decision to make, and she basically turns to them, and I can't remember the exact line, but what a well-written line it was, when she basically said, this flat TARDIS team's not going to work, I'm at the peak, I'm at the top, I make the decisions. And she took over that, she took over the scene, she put them in their place, they looked shell-shocked. And she commanded the scene, and she put them in their place, and she made the decision. And how she said, I can't always win. And again, when she was faced with the Cybermen a little bit later, and she thought she'd figured it out, and she realised that she hadn't, and she was basically putting the entire of the future at risk, and she had to hand it back over to the Cyberman. And she says, I cannot win. There's nothing I can do. We saw a commanding, sort of angry, frustrated side to her where she had to put the companions in their place because they just don't get it. And then we also saw a sort of worried panic side of her where she was actually helpless and she didn't know what she didn't know what to do. And I love it when the Doctor's putting her in a position where she can't win.
Yeah.
She's helpless. And the last 15 minutes of her performance were outstanding. Don't get me wrong, the first 30 minutes were very sort of, by the by, and I sort of had the same issues, but you've got to give it to her the last 15 minutes.
I have, but...
Brilliant.
It just scenes like that where... there's scenes like that, so where I see more of the Doctor in her than any other times. And your anatomy is just so frustrating.
It's frustrating in a way because you want to see it more, but... That's her Doctor. I just relish the moments where we do get to see her like this because it shows what Jodie can do given the lines and given the material.
Because I just think, and that I know myself that the Doctor's just not for me at all, and I know it isn't.
That's fine.
It's just so frustrating.
Again, like at the very, very end when she was saying to them, "Don't come with me." Again, I thought that was a fantastic Doctor moment.
I did.
And I've got to say that, again, is indicating that they are walking into trouble.
Yes, very much trouble.
And I think that she's continually warning them she's sort of keeping them at arm's length. She's continually warning them to just stay away, don't follow me, this is dangerous. and they are just blindly walking into every single week. Maybe it is a whole part of them just thinking everything's easy going. Maybe they're going to get the shock of their life next week and something really bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
But at the ending I thought was fantastic. And what did you think of the whole decision she had to make in that moment, and how the episode come down to that dilemma and that decision with giving that to the Cybermen?
I liked it because in a way she couldn't handle it herself, but also in a way she knew herself what's going to happen is going to be bad,
and what needed to be done.
She needed to give it back to him, and then all of a sudden like shoot off and like try and fix it immediately. It
does. It sort of puts the what happens next. Like, we have no idea. We don't know what they're going to walk back into, what 2020 is going to be like, what the future holds.
Just hope next week that we get so much more commanding scenes from her.
Well, the stakes are naturally going to be raised, so you'd like to think that she is going to be a little bit more, Well,
them scenes with her I really like, and even at the start of the series, like, was her and the Master face to face. I love them scenes, and even that Dalek special episode, her and the Dalek face to face. I love them scenes. So it's just what gets me. So it's just all the other scenes that I hate about the Doctor. Do you get what I'm saying?
It's just the way the Doctor is, and if you're not a fan, you're not a fan.
I'm just not a fan.
I'm not a big fan either, but I do relish these moments that we get from her. I hope we get more of them next week, because naturally things are going to be a little bit more dangerous. She knows what they're walking into is going to be, very, very, it's going to be a difficult situation. So I'm hoping we do see a very serious side to her, and she, and things do happen with the Doctor. She is put in one of them positions again where she's in a little bit of a predicament.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Ratings?
Yes. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a strong 8.
8? I wasn't expecting you to go 8.
I'm going to give it a strong 8 because the story got me hooked. I like the concept, and a proper villain again, like a Cyberman. I love that. And here at the start of the review, and I also said that I like this episode with the old school vibe of it, but it could have been higher, but what tricked it down was Jodie's performance in half of it.
I'm going to give it an 8.5. I very much enjoyed this episode. I think, like I said, everything about it just all worked together so well. There wasn't one aspect of it that felt misplaced. There wasn't an aspect of it that felt like it shouldn't have been there. The music and the direction and the setting and everything, the Cybermen as well, it all fit together perfectly. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's my sort of episode as well, I'll be honest. It's my sort of Doctor episode. How they blended the whole haunted ghost sort of thing into the sci-fi Doctor Who side. Like I say, it all blended together perfectly. It's not like it felt like, what happened in the episode shouldn't have belonged there.
Yeah.
Jodie's performance was, again, not, it was a little bit frustrating at times, but there was moments, again, where I was taken aback by her, and I thought, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Companions, as always, it's tough, and it's just an ongoing problem. There's 3 of them. It's hard.
Graham and Yaz are hitting it, but it's Ryan.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with them in the finale. But that's the only thoughts I really have. I mean, Jodie wasn't, at it full on. The Sonic again did my head in a little bit.
That bloody Sonic.
And not all the companions were at the level I'd like them to be. But as far as how the episode developed, how it continued to build, and how it climbed, the climax with the decision at the end, and what's coming up, it's left me very excited for the finale. Very excited for the 2-part finale. So
roll on the finale.
I can't wait to see what happens next, and to see, what happens with the lone Cybermen, and if we find out why Jack was. Well, how did Jack know not to give the lone Cybermen what it wants?
Be interesting.
How's that going to unravel? We'll have to find out.
I am hoping that the Master comes back again in the finale. dying to see the Master again.
I don't think we'll see him. I think maybe after the dust settles on the whole finale at the very end of episode 10, in the last 5 minutes, they might touch upon the Timeless Child again. I think it'll be too much at once to suddenly tie the whole Cybermen, Cyber Army thing into the Timeless Child and Ruth Doctor thing. I think that's too much to put into one big thing. So I think once the dust settles on the finale, we'll then be reminded of the Timeless Child, and maybe we'll see the Master again.
I hope so.
But it's going to be for a Series 13, maybe 60th anniversary thing. I just don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows? So that's our review of this week's episode, guys. As always, if you've enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel for weekly Doctor Who Series 12 reviews, as well as theory vids, among much more. Comment below your thoughts on this episode and what you would rate it out of 10. And as always, if you want to stay up to date on everything, the Who Addicts, you can like us across Facebook, Instagram, and all the other means, Twitter as well, especially. And if you want to donate to the channel and receive some awesome rewards, please head over to our Patreon. But other than that, we'll be back at some point next week with maybe a potential other video. If not, it will be our review of episode 9. Well, until then, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.